is up, guys? It is your boy Pharaoh. Now, has Luffy shown us a glimpse of his new power? Now, if we go all the way back to the Cracker fight in this arc, when Luffy goes Gear 4 against Cracker, and he does an attack called Kong Organ, which is a supposed version of, a Gatling version of his regular Kongun, but not exactly the same. Now, the reason I say that is that I'm not sure what Oda was going for here, because it looks like Luffy has multiple arms when he does the attack, instead of just, two Konguns moving at really fast speeds back and forth. And the reason I say this is because of the way it was drawn. Now let's take a look at how the Gatling looks in the manga. Now the Gatling is basically just his arms moving back and forth at extremely high speeds, so it looks like he has multiple arms. As you can see by the picture, it's drawn differently from a Kong Organ, and by that I mean the wind up. Before Luffy does a Gatling, we only see two hands during the wind up before he moves them at really fast speeds. It's the same with every other Gatling skill set, Gear 2nd, Gear 3rd, Elephant Gatling, all of those attacks. But the difference here with the Kong Organ is that we actually see multiple arms before the attack. So during the wind up of his attack, Oda chose to draw 3 arms. If the Kong Organ is the Gatling version of the Kongun, he would only draw 2 hands during the wind up of the attack and show multiple arms during the attack itself. And that's where it really makes me think that Luffy is actually growing 3 arms. And it also makes sense in a logical standpoint, since rubber is something that you can change its form to whatever desired shape. But this is leaning towards Luffy having crazy control of the Gomu Gomu no Mi. I would say something close to perfection. Again, he had this fruit for a long time. Apart from just stretching and inflating his body, I feel like he developed new abilities that allows him to do more, but they are not as efficient as it should be. And there's also more proof in the anime. Now, while the anime does follow the same storyboard, I don't like using it due to the fact that they over exaggerate things to a high degree, and in return it gives people wrong misconceptions about things. But in the anime, during the Luffy versus Cracker fight, they animated the Kong Organ to show that Luffy actually has 3 arms, and it's not like it was just 2 arms that were going really fast back and forth. Again, even though I don't like using the anime, I don't think they would be dumb enough to animate it like that and mislead the viewers. And one more thing we can use is the title of this attack. Now let's go back to Luffy's Gatling attacks. Now we know Luffy, some of Luffy's skill sets are based off real life weapons, mostly guns. Luffy's Gatling is obviously based off the Gatling gun, which is a rapid fire weapon. But one thing we have to note here is that it's a single shaft that fires multiple bullets. So Luffy using his 2 arms to launch rapid attacks follows the same logic. Now if you take a look at Luffy's Kong Organ, which should be based off the Organ gun, the Organ gun itself is a weapon that has many shafts that fires rapidly and individually, and it makes sense as to why Luffy has multiple arms, as it shares the same logic with the actual gun itself. And it ties in so well with Katakuri that we see later in this arc, who is said to have a similar devil fruit as Luffy, the Mochi Mochi no Mi. And Katakuri also displayed the ability to grow multiple arms, multiple legs, multiple limbs, and most of us think that Luffy is learning while he's fighting Katakuri, and the intent here is that Katakuri is being used for Luffy to learn how to use his devil fruit in a more efficient manner. Now Luffy may be capable of growing multiple arms, but he hasn't perfected it yet, and that's why it's really hard for him to do it in his base form, maybe because he seems to be doing it in Gear 4. So I feel like there's a reason Oda shows Luffy growing multiple arms during his fight against Cracker, to then introduce a character that has a similar devil fruit ability and has the same ability to grow multiple limbs. I feel like that was put there for a reason, but at this point it could be either or, but I'm definitely leaning towards Luffy using multiple arms against his fight against Cracker than just the Gatling version of the Kong gun. Anyways, I think this is a huge step for Luffy, and if that was the case, that Luffy did grow multiple arms, I think we're sleeping on Luffy big time, because at that point I really thought it was just a Kong gun that was just moving back and forth at really high speeds. But I feel like there's a lot of evidence supporting that Luffy actually is growing multiple arms against his fight against Cracker. Again, Luffy is someone that he transcends in a fight. Maybe he saw Cracker had multiple soldiers, he then counters back by having multiple arms. Luffy is definitely a prodigy when it comes down to fight, especially when he's copying other people's abilities as well. After seeing Blue No do Soru, he copied that in a couple of days. So I wouldn't be surprised if Luffy masters this multiple limbs things that Katakuri is doing, or he even had the ability before he fought Katakuri, but he just has to learn it in a more efficient way. But anyways, the fight against Katakuri versus Luffy, again, I don't think Luffy will win this fight. I think something has to happen in between, because I just feel like Katakuri is just simply superior to Luffy, and it would be unless Luffy really does some like close to death shit, like he's almost dying, he has to use all of his abilities, you know, it has to be extremely high diff, or I don't see him beating Katakuri at all. Like, this guy is simply above him. But anyways, Luffy will have to prove himself in this fight. It should be epic, because again, this is a 1v1. There's no one to help him, and it's in the mirror world, so it's gonna be a crazy battle. Definitely some hype, and I definitely can't wait to see how this progresses. But comment down below what you guys think. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content on this channel. It is Pharaoh, and I will see you guys later. Peace.